It's truly an honor and privilege to be here today to talk to you about a topic that was near and dear to Sean Mckenna's life, leadership, and something that is important to me as well. It's also a special honor to be able to talk about my friend and brother, Sean Mckenna. And before I start my sort of prepared remarks, I'd like to kind of talk to the gentlemen in this room. Each of you, as members in Sigma Phi Epsilon, have a tremendous opportunity, not just by being a SigEp, and not just by being here at the Carlson Leadership Academy, but by what you will do in and for Sigma Phi Epsilon, not just as undergraduates, but for the rest of your lives. And my challenge for you today is to make the most of that unique and tremendous opportunity as brothers in Sigma Phi Epsilon. It truly is a unique opportunity, and it's available to you because of the smart choice that you made to join Sigma Phi Epsilon. So for that, I thank you, and I look forward to each and every one of your contributions and accomplishments as members in Sigma Phi Epsilon. So what we hope to be able to do today a little bit is talk about some things that might help you be successful in that effort. As I look back on my fraternity experience, part of why I stay involved and why I've done what I've done over the last few decades is because I truly believe that Sigma Phi Epsilon provides each and every one of you as brothers in SigEp a unique opportunity because you're part of what I consider to be a laboratory where you can perfect your skills, learn new skills, make mistakes, celebrate victories, and do things at this point in your life that enable you to be even more effective in the years to come. And what's so wonderful about SigEp is this opportunity, this laboratory, happens in the context of a brotherhood. A brotherhood where you can celebrate successes with your brothers, and yes, where you can call your brothers out if they fail to live up to their true potential. It's wonderful and unique what we have in Sigma Phi Epsilon and the opportunity that you have. It's especially important and an honor, as we've said, to be able to talk about Sean Mckenna briefly in the context of leadership. Shawn was a remarkable man, and I want to share with you a little bit about Shawn. So who was Sean Mckenna? As was said, he graduated from the University of Maine, proud graduate, proud alumnus of the University of Maine, but an even prouder alumnus of the Maine Alpha chapter. After graduating, he went to work for the Sigma Phi Epsilon staff in Richmond. And for those of you who have interacted, most of us have, with staff, it's a pretty good group. And Shawn quickly distinguished himself as a leader among leaders on our Richmond staff. He left a significant mark during his time there. When Shawn decided to leave staff, he went to work for Procter & Gamble, the world's leading sales and marketing company. And he quickly became a rising star within the ranks at Procter & Gamble. He was innovative, he was hardworking, he was smart. He even wrote a book while he was at Procter & Gamble on marketing in his early 20s. As accomplished as Shawn was at Procter & Gamble, he realized that inside of him there was a passion, a burning desire to challenge himself even further and to lead in even different ways, new and challenging ways. So at the height of a career at Procter & Gamble, he left. He quit. He wanted to become an entrepreneur. He wanted to challenge himself and lead in new arenas, new fields. So interestingly, in the late 80s and early 90s, at the height of the collapse of the Soviet Union, Shawn, of all places, moved to Russia to open a business. The business he opened was a 1950s themed American-style diner, again, in the former Soviet Republic of Russia. That diner grew into multiple diners, which led to additional restaurant concepts, which ultimately led to a hospitality and importing business that was quite significant. Shawn was a very accomplished business leader and business executive. Shawn, at the height of his professional career, faced a challenge. He was diagnosed with cancer. And for those of us who knew Shawn, he didn't take that lightly. He took it head on, and we're going to talk about that. But at that point in his life, he also realized there was another passion that he had, and it was to teach. And so Shawn moved back to his beloved Maine, went back to his beloved University of Maine, and became a teacher. And what did he teach? He taught leadership, something he knew a hell of a lot about. Shawn was a wonderful man. And in my view, Shawn's life itself is a lesson in leadership. So let's talk about that. Shawn, as a leader, first and foremost, was a devoted family man. You couldn't talk to Shawn, you couldn't meet Shawn without him telling you some funny, some playful, some thoughtful story about his family. He's shown here with his 3 children, Ryan, Aaron, and Riley. Another picture of his children, but he was also a proud grandfather. Shawn loved his grandchildren. Shawn was a devoted family man. As much as he loved his family, the true love of his life was Deb, his high school sweetheart that he married shortly after college. Let's picture Shawn in a SigEp jacket. If you talk to Shawn, he would say he married right when he met Deb. If you talk to Deb, she'd say it's the other way around. They had a wonderful relationship, a loving partnership their entire life. What made Shawn so effective as a leader, though, was he was an absolute character. He was fun. He was playful. He was curious. He was adventurous. He had a love of life more than anybody that I would ever know, have ever met. A zest, a love of life. And he lived it each and every day. But another trait that Shawn had as a leader was he knew how to celebrate. He knew how to celebrate his own victories, although he rarely did that. Most importantly, he celebrated the victories of others. Friends, families, co-workers, brothers. And one of the most significant traits of his leadership, one of the most significant traits of Shawn as a leader was his ability to celebrate small wins, big wins, wins of others. As I said, Shawn's life was a lesson in leadership. So as we talk about lessons in leadership, as I think about a few remarks that I could make, what first comes to mind is literally the thousands of books and podcasts and books on tape and television shows and webinars that have been written about leadership. And thankfully, I'm not going to try to recite those today. What I am going to try to do today is impart a few simple concepts that I hope you can take home to your chapter, to your communities, and begin to utilize, begin to practice, begin to learn from. That's my hope. And as I think about leadership, it can be boiled down into 4 simple concepts. One is you can lead from anywhere. The criticality of vision. The need for courage as a leader, and the importance of being human. So let's talk about those. Lead from anywhere. As I look back on my professional life, my personal life, there are opportunities, and as I think about leadership, there are opportunities for each and every individual to lead. Whether it's a servant leader leading by example, or whether it's the president of your chapter or CEO of a company, and everything in between. There are opportunities to lead in each and everything you do. You simply have to seek out that opportunity. And I know you will, because you're brothers in Sigma Phi Epsilon. As I think about my own organization, some of the most meaningful accomplishments of our business came from individuals that were not in designated leadership roles. Whether it was the truck driver who had an idea around route efficiency that led to significantly enhanced profitability, whether it was a product technician that invented a new product that led to an entirely new business unit within our company, or whether it was an IT analyst that invented an entirely new e-commerce platform that not only changed our business, but revolutionized our entire industry. None of these people were in formally designated roles, but they found a way to lead from the position that they were in. And as we think about leadership, we typically think of a very hierarchical structure. If you think of it as a pyramid, you've got whoever it is at the top of the pyramid, the president of the chapter, the CEO of the company, whatever it may be. And then you've got the next level, which is the vice presidents or the executive vice presidents in a company, and the committee chairman and the managers and blah, 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 blah. It's this very large sort of triangle with the designated or seen leader on the top. Effective leaders find a way to invert that pyramid so that every individual in that organization is a leader. And the most effective ones at the top of that pyramid now are the ones that people wouldn't typically view as leaders. Simply put, there's an opportunity for everybody to lead in every single thing you do. And it is as simple as finding something or someone and make them better. So my challenge for you today is to go home and find opportunities to find something or someone and make them better. Be a leader in whatever capacity you're in. Leadership can come from anywhere. The second point is the criticality of vision. And guys, I gotta tell you, most people suck at this. Young leaders in particular absolutely suck at this. I've seen it at the Ruck Leadership Institute. I've seen it in working with chapters. It's hard. You guys are too young, but we had a president who struggled with the vision thing. President Bush, great man. He struggled with the vision thing. And as a result, in part, he failed to get reelected. Vision is hard. It's very hard. And as a result, most leaders avoid it. And it's a fatal flaw in leadership. The vision thing is critically important. Shawn, when he would talk about vision, he would say, imagine the end state. And he would teach this in his classes at the University of Maine. Imagine the end state and work backwards. And he would say, until you have that end state perfectly identified, it's useless to focus on anything else. If I did one thing right in my organization, it was to develop, communicate, and reinforce a compelling vision for our company. If I did one thing right, that was it. And if I simply did that and surrounded myself with good, talented people, that was enough. That was enough. Vision is critically important. And it's typically what many, many young leaders fail to focus on. If you don't have vision right, everything else is irrelevant. So practice the vision, understand your vision, and learn how to communicate it. And when you communicate your vision, an important element of that is to talk not about the what that is the vision, but much more importantly, the why. Because any leader communicating a vision needs others to follow them. They need others to be inspired by the vision that they've created and are articulating. If the individual to whom the vision is being communicated to doesn't understand why we're doing this, there's very little commitment to that vision. Most leaders tend to talk about what they're going to do. I'm going to do X, Y, and Z, blah, 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 blah. And a lot of people may listen to that, but what's the purpose? What's the why? So as you begin to craft, develop, and communicate a vision, focus on not just the what, but much more importantly, the why. Criticality of vision is an important element of leadership. The next one I want to talk about is the need for courage. As each of you assume a leadership role in whatever capacity that is, by very virtue of becoming a leader, you will have distinguished yourself among others. And what typically happens in that environment? You subject yourself, perhaps, to criticism. You subject yourself, perhaps, to second guessing. You subject yourself, perhaps, to people wanting to see you fail in some circumstances, particularly if you're advocating for significant change. It takes courage to be a leader. In a world of relativity and just non-commitment to certain beliefs, leaders need to have a clearly understood belief system and stick to them and have the courage and the ability to do that. When Shawn later in life was diagnosed with cancer, he demonstrated the inherent courage that he had. And he also taught us that one of the ways you face courage, and what should be one of the ways you exhibit courage, is by facing your biggest fear first. Shawn was scared to death with his diagnosis with cancer, but he knew he had to face it first. And as leaders, it's important that whatever you fear the most, approach that first. Once you tackle that and accomplish that, everything else is easy. Effective leaders have the courage to face their greatest fear first and deal with that, fix that, make that better. Everything else then is so much easier. And Shawn did that. And the way that he did that in facing his greatest fear was in being prepared. It's another trait of a good leader. When you're facing your biggest fear and rousing the courage to do that, you need to be prepared. I see too many young leaders, I see too many individuals in my organization at times that come into meetings or come into situations where they're absolutely not as prepared as they should be. And that's a shame. Shawn never did that. Whether it was a cancer treatment, a surgery, a doctor's visit, whatever it was, Shawn came in so prepared to face that fear. He knew everything there was about what was to be done to him, what they were recommending to him. He came prepared. And that's a lesson for all of us. And that takes courage. That takes courage. But my final point on courage as a leader is recognize others and never take credit for someone else's work. It takes courage to be able to congratulate and celebrate the victories of others, even perhaps when you yourself may have failed. But it's critically important to do that. Recognizing the wins of others, recognizing the accomplishments of others, and admitting perhaps even your own mistakes in doing that. That helps inspire people, it helps people to follow you. It's a critical component of leadership, and it takes courage. And my final point is the importance of being human. What the hell are you talking about, Jay? Well, the reality is, too many leaders, once they become or get elected to or assume a leadership role, for some reason, lose sight of what caused people to view them as a leader in the first place. The human element, their personality, their support of others, their friendship, their humor. We become robotic. We become so focused on the SWOT analysis and the goals and the responsibilities and our desire to lead change and all of these things that are critically important as a leader. But we become so focused on that, we forget who we are as a human being. And what does that do? It causes people to react in a way that may make you less effective as a leader. Good leaders remain human. Shawn sure as hell did. He was fun. He was adventurous. He knew how to celebrate victories of others. He was human, and he always let that show. One thing that Shawn would do, which was a great trait, when you were with Shawn and he would introduce you to someone that you didn't know, he would introduce that person to you as, this is John, and John has done X, Y, and Z, and he would make that person that he was introducing to you sound as if he had absolutely hung the moon. Many times in excess of perhaps what that person deserved. But what he was doing is, he was giving that person that he was introducing you to a reputation to live up to. And he truly believed that. And it was a human element, a human way of saying, this is John, I want you to meet John. John is great, he's done all of these different things. And he was setting John up for success. Because in my eyes and everyone else's eyes, John was a leader, a good guy. Shawn never lost touch, never lost the ability to demonstrate his humanity as a leader. And I see that as a flaw in too many people too often. So it's a simple reminder, be yourself, be human, have fun. If it ever ceases to be fun as a leader, it's time for you to hand the mantle of leadership to someone else. If you're not having fun, yeah, there are going to be times where you're not having fun. But if in totality, you simply aren't having fun, not only are you not effective, it's time to pass it on to somebody else. Leadership should be and can be and will be fun. So simply put, 4 things I want you to take home. You can lead from anywhere, the criticality of vision, the need for courage, and the importance of being human. All lessons I learned from Shawn, all lessons I learned from mentors in Sigma Phi Epsilon, and all lessons that I hope you take home with you today and in the years to come. And practice, experiment, win, fail, and doing all of that with the support and love of your brothers in Sigma Phi Epsilon. Those are lessons in leadership that I hope resonate and I hope will be helpful to you in some way. I appreciate your time today. I look forward to your continued participation in the Carlson Leadership Academy. And if I can be any of help for you for the rest of the day in the president's session or otherwise, I'm happy to do so. It's my pleasure. So thank you very much.